Get in on the action and make your bet with Sports Interaction. Summer is heating up with baseball. Can the Jays make a run at the division?
Oh, no.
Yeah. Hey, but you can bet before the game, whichever way you think. Live and in play at all your favorite teams and hot dog contests. Woo! Woo! SportsInteraction.com/STPN or download the app to get started. It's 19 plus. And what do you have to do, Steve?
Please play responsibly.
Welcome to Nailing the Apex, everyone. I'm your host, Tim Haraney. Please head on over to Spotify. Give us a 5-star rating and a follow. Same goes with Apple Podcasts as well. Rate and reviews. It really helps us grow the show. And also, you can watch us on YouTube now. Doing this one from my bedroom, as you can see the pillows in the background. If you noticed, I make my bed every morning. Very clean and organized kind of guy. So, yeah. All right. Anyways, let's talk some racing. So British Grand Prix coming up this weekend, and Media Day was on Thursday. And interesting stuff. I mean, I guess where do I start? I mean, let's go with Brad Pitt. Because he's going to be here this weekend. He's going to be at the race. So what's going on there is the Apple Studios F1 film is going to be starting shooting this weekend here at the British Grand Prix. I heard from Lewis Hamilton. I was in the press conference with him earlier today, and I guess he'd been with him at a racetrack in LA recently as I guess Brad was getting trained to drive a race car. Now, Brad Pitt's not going to be driving like a real Formula One car. It's essentially, from what I was told, a detuned like Formula 2 engine, but it is in the chassis of a modern era Formula One car. So they all look the same, all the Formula One cars, as all the Formula One cars. And I think one of the things with this particular movie is the, being very authentic to what Formula One is. And that's something that's, Lewis Hamilton really hit home, and he wants to make sure that he does the sport right. And I think a lot of people do, for sure. It's in good hands. I mean, Lewis knows what he's doing, and they've also got a great director on this as well. They got a great crew. I mean, I believe they're shooting in the paddock because they had a ton of equipment, camera equipment in there today when I was walking around. It was pretty neat to see it all. It's going to be interesting to see how they're able to film all of this. Like, it can be a challenge. My partner works in the entertainment industry, and it's not an easy industry to work in, and like trying to get shoots done can be a challenge, and it can take some time to get a shot that you need. But with this, it's going to be very fast paced. Like, they don't have a lot of time to get the shots that they need. They have some track time that's carved out over the weekend, but it's only like in 15 minutes sort of increments or segments, and that's kind of like all they get. So it's not a lot of track time that their team is going to be getting to film part of this movie. And I think they're going to be, coming in and around the Formula One paddocks for the remainder of the season. And then obviously they got their off-track stuff that they can shoot, which is no problem for them. It's just mostly the stuff in the paddock, and everything else, built around it is going to be a bit of a challenge. The name of the team is Apex GP. So it's like a black and gold livery. And just saw it out on the track a little earlier. It was pretty cool. They have, like I was saying, the right director for this. They've got the director who made Top Gun Maverick, and from what I've told, they've got some really high tech equipment to shoot this thing. Like, they've got cameras built inside of the car, really high tech stuff. So it's exciting. I'm curious to see what the end product is. I've always been skeptical ever since driven. And, I was kind of like around, that time in Champ Car and IndyCar and kind of seeing how that all got handled. And yeah, I really hope it turns out well. I think, I think one of the things, obviously, like I had said, is the challenges of shooting and how they're going to be shooting, and then obviously the storyline as well. I just want to make sure and hope that it's going to be authentic and true to Formula One and true to racing in general. Got a tour of the Aston Martin facility today. Their brand new one, state of the art. It is incredible. It is so cool. Oh my God. They've got when you look at the building from the outside, I mean it is massive, but then once you go inside and see how it's built, it's almost built like a small little town. And it's got like a main street that sort of runs down the middle of it. And as that street runs down the middle of it, to the left, to the right, are your different departments, fabrication. You've got the race bay. You've got electronics. You've got the carbon fiber thing. I saw one of the big tubes that they actually bake the carbon fiber in. And these things are massive. When I tell you they're massive, they are friggin' huge. So yeah, that was cool to see all of that. I'm just still trying to process like everything that I got to see. But they take they take your phone from you and they put stickers over the cameras, so you can't take pictures, you can't film. But just the experience in and of itself was pretty awesome. So it's pretty locked down, and for good reason. They've got to keep their secrets quiet, that's for sure. And yesterday got the opportunity from Williams. Williams invited me out to their facility and got to have dinner inside the Williams Heritage Museum. And so for those of you who don't know, essentially, Williams has this section in their factory that is carved out for the car, every single Williams car that was ever built, and they're all in there. And it's like they're all on their own stages. They all have their own descriptions of who drove the cars in what year, and they're all lined up in year by year by year. And we got to have dinner like right in the middle of all of this, and over one of our shoulders is there's Ayrton Senna's helmet, his car, Jacques Villeneuve's 1997 championship winning Williams is just to the left of me. Nicholas Latifi's car and George Russell's is there. Lance Stroll's was there. All of it. It was pretty incredible to see. And we got to have dinner with James Vowles. It was cool. It was a great opportunity. They came and picked me up. So they got this nice like Mercedes to come and pull up to my front door, pick me up, and drove me all the way out to the factory. And it was great. It was a great opportunity, and I'm really grateful for it. I had a lot of fun, and this trip so far has been a blast. Yesterday, if you saw over on my Twitter, dropped the news that F1's calendar had come out, and it's interesting. It's 24 races, so it's a big event, and there are some concerns with it, but there are also some good things about it as well. I think trying to get the races in close proximity to each other is a good first step. I mean, of course, it's never going to be easy to navigate all of this. I mean, look, if you wanted to do all of North America in like October and November, you can't really do that because, if you're going to lump Canada in with that, like it'd be snowing, it'd be freezing cold. There's just no way it could happen. So there are quite a few challenges with designing, a massive calendar like this. So it starts off in Bahrain on March 2nd. So it's a Saturday night race. And then that moves over to Saudi Arabia from there on March 9th. Again, the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix on March 9th. That is a Saturday night. And Ramadan starts on March the 10th, which is the Sunday, the next day. So Formula One wanted to get this thing in and make sure it was finished before Ramadan had started. And just leading into that, it could be, I don't want to say it could be tough, but it could be a lot of travel for the teams, because wherever they're going to do testing, if they end up doing it in Bahrain, which I think they probably will, you're flying out to Bahrain and you're there for 1 week, and then you're there for the testing, and then you're there for the Bahrain Grand Prix, and then you're heading to Saudi Arabia for that night race as well. And then you've got a bit of time off before March 24th hits, the Australian Grand Prix. Then you got a week off, and then you've got April 7th, Japan. Japan's back on the calendar. It was always on the calendar, but it's been moved. I was thinking of China, but it's been moved from its date in October. And usually Japan is towards the end of the season, that October, November-ish sort of area. And now they've moved that all the way forward to April 7th. And then there's a week off, and then April 21st is China. So that could be difficult for crew members. If these people have families, right? So you got to think about it. They got to go to Australia, then they got to fly back to wherever home is. Then they've got to fly to Japan, then they got to fly back to where home is, and then they have to fly to China, and then they have to fly back to where home is, and then there's a week off, and then you've got the Miami Grand Prix on May 5th, and then you're going from there. You're going all the way over to Italy for the race there on May 10th, and then you're coming. Then you're going to Monaco, and then you're going to Canada. So pretty stacked grid. If I'm not mistaken, there are three. I believe there's 3 triple headers in this one, and the end part of the schedule could be a little bit different, but all things considered, if you compare it to, I don't know, calendars past, like it's a little more structured, a little more organized in terms of having races in their regions before moving on to like another region, which is a good idea. And so it's definitely trending in the right direction, but it's got to be difficult too at the same time, because I remember in the past, like they always tried to make a calendar around, well, part of the reason was the weather. So what was the weather like in the country that they're going to? Because sometimes, you go to monsoon season for some of them. So it can be a bit of a challenge in that regard, but let's see what happens with next year's calendar. I mean, it's definitely going in the right direction. Had the opportunity to sit down and talk to Logan Sargeant. Logan, American, racing for Williams Racing. Just coming off a really great result in Austria. It wasn't points, but I think for him, it's definitely going in the right direction. It just takes time as a rookie. It's not easy, right? And if it was easy, I mean, obviously everybody would do it. But at the end of the day, I mean, there's a lot of learning that goes into Formula One. It's like I've said on this podcast before many times, you really don't know what you have until about towards the end of your second year, or into your third year. That's when a team really kind of understands what they have. And, speaking with James Vowles last night, holds Logan in high regard, thinks he's a really great talent. And I think they're excited about him for sure. And so, yeah, anyways, big thanks to Williams, though, for allowing me to sit down and do this interview with Logan Sargeant. So hope you enjoy it. We were speaking before I hit record, London. Okay, so first time for me being downtown London. Like, how do you navigate that?
First tip, you have to look both ways because you don't know which way the cars are coming from.
Sure.
So you got to double check both sides. Man, for the rest, I just feel like it's not like embedded in me. Like I'm a city man. I'm just moving.
I'm
getting around. No, it's fast paced, isn't it? It's insane.
wild. I couldn't even figure out how to use the crosswalks because like part of the crosswalk didn't have the go sign and it just said look left before you cross and there's cars just like
It's wild. It's out of
I
control.
was like, am I supposed to walk now?
You got to get involved, and you just got to make sure when you go,
Yeah.
it's clear.
You like commit to
Yeah,
it,
he's
and then
gotta
like there
commit,
you
yeah.
go. Oh man, how is it? Like, what are you enjoying yourself over in London? I mean, because it's this is my first time venturing across the sea like in a long time, man. Because like I lived in Italy for a bit racing FIA GT Championship, but that was like way back. We're going back, man. Like 16 years. So it's like it's been a long time since I've been over here, and like. How has it been for you? Like, how's that adjustment? So it's gotta be tough.
It is tough. It is tough, especially as a kid. Like, leaving everything you've ever known behind is tough. Going from, being a kid from Florida who had everything in terms of outdoors to moving to Europe, which is honestly quite the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
And then moving to sort of a city life was not easy. And there was definitely a lot of tough times. But I feel like now as I've gotten older, I can actually appreciate and enjoy the city much more than I used to as a kid. And I feel like I've got to the point where I have a really good group of people and friends around me. And it's like probably the first year of my life that I genuinely enjoy it, and I don't feel the need to go home, whereas before I was always homesick, like 100% of the time, whereas now I don't really get that feeling anymore, which is quite nice.
Yeah, I like, I don't know if this is true or not, but like for myself, I always find that like routine helps. Like if
routine's big. I feel like I've always been good with routine. I've always been, I haven't really had a choice because of racing, so it was always, gym, really just gym, sim, when I was younger, schoolwork, stuff like that. Whereas, now it's a bit different. But I'm still in a very good routine. But yeah, I don't know. I think another thing that's really helped me is the fact that there's more races now in F1, and it keeps me much more busy. And I never get stale. Like I never get just stuck in one place. And I felt like that was the tough part, when you would get stuck in one place with not much to do, and you would just like start to eat yourself alive because you're so bored all the time.
Yeah.
So I feel like now with a lot of races, I never get into that point.
Yeah, I feel that. And but also with like the travel, like have you found, because you're traveling obviously more now with Formula 1 than you were with Formula 2, but do you find like it's harder to get used to like the jet lag, man? Because like
no, like honestly, jet lag this year I've been really good with it. We've put a lot of effort into trying to make sure that we're as well adjusted as we can be before we get there, and then when we get there, it's as easy as it can be. Of course, there's tougher ones than others, but I think for me with the travel as well, the European flights I can't stand, like the 2.5 hour ones. They drive me insane. But actually the ones when I'm flying quite far, I find quite peaceful, because it's like the one time that no one can bother me, and I can just be to myself, listen to music, watch movies, just lay there in peace. And that's quite nice sometimes, to be honest.
I bet. I was on the flight over here, and I got to sit beside this old guy, and he got liquored up. Yeah. Like, man, he wouldn't stop talking to me. And like, I'm like, dude, I'm just trying to sleep. And he didn't have his hearing aids in. And so I'm like yelling at him, answering his questions. I'm like, come on, man. Like, I got to get at least 3 hours of sleep here so I can at least try to adapt to the time change. But like, no dice whatsoever. But yeah, no, I understand that. Do you get those pods? Do you get to sit in the, like when you go on a long travels, like do you get the pods?
Yeah.
Those
so
are sick.
The team sorts me out with that stuff.
That's awesome.
But like, if someone respectfully, if someone's trying to talk to me, I'm trying to sleep.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm gonna let them know.
I get it.
Stop talking to me. Like, man's gotta sleep. That's what I'm saying. I mean,
No,
I'm
I
putting
get
up with that.
No, I get that. How's the season been going for you? Like, how are you? Obviously, you're enjoying yourself because you're in Formula One. But like, if you're, I don't want to say give yourself a grade, but like, yeah, how do you feel things are going? Because you're coming off a really strong race in Austria, and it really looks like you're starting to sort of piece things together.
Yeah, I don't like putting grade on things. I think for the most part, yeah, I've enjoyed it so much. Just, I mean, you're driving an F1 car. How can you not? You know what I mean? It's such a privilege. But at the same time, it's been a huge challenge for sure. It's been difficult. It's been up and down at times. You know, I feel like there's been times where it's been moving the right direction, and times where it's probably taken a step back. And then just trying to, you know, always keep yourself up, keep yourself positive, moving in the right direction. And I feel like the last few weekends I've really started to see quite significant improvements, and I don't feel like they've quite been put on paper yet. But just to see that and notice that there are things going better and in the right direction, that gives me a lot of motivation going to, you know, moving forward just in general. And also coming off of Austria, it was a decent weekend. Again, quality didn't come together, but I did see, you know, really positive things. So to come to Silverstone, it's one of my favorites. I'm excited for it, and should be a good weekend.
So we got some questions for you. We had a lot.
These are always interesting.
No, I mean, I did my best to vet them, I guess you would say. But there are actually some really good questions here. One's from Carter Ross. Who was your favorite F1 driver before and after you joined F1?
Okay. Before and after. I would say, but favorite in sense of personality or the way they drive, or
I think what they meant was probably by the way they drive.
By the way they drive. Okay. I think for me growing up, honestly, always it's just gonna be bland. It's just always the greats. It's like, yeah, Lewis when I was growing up was just the best. So of course I'm gonna, you know, see him as, you know, that guy.
Personality wise, then.
And then now it would be in terms of driving Max because he's just so dominant. Yeah. But in terms of personality-wise, before it had to be Kimi, 100%. I mean, there's no doubt. Like, I mean, he was just a different breed, and I found him extremely funny, just how dry he was. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Kimi before, and now Yuki. I think Yuki's funny.
Oh man, there's
he
so many.
He just starts going off, like just starts stalking and talking that he starts having his own conversation with himself. It's so good.
We were up in the media room, in the FIA press conference earlier on Thursday, and like he had the other drivers just in stitches, man. Like they were all just like in a little circle. He was just like, I don't know what he was saying, man, but they were absolutely loving it. Another question from Ellie. What are the biggest changes and biggest similarities between F1 and F2 that you've found?
There ain't a lot of similarities.
No, not at all.
I think the similarities are that you're pushing pedals and turning a steering wheel. That's about it. No, I think it's crazy different, to be honest. I mean, okay, one, you're much more in the spotlight, as to be expected. But at the same time, you know, when you're against 19 of the other best drivers in the world, not being perfect can be very punishing, and it can look a lot worse. And, you know, it might be at times. So yeah, that's something to always keep in mind. And at the same time, you know, the cars are, you know, a lot of people think F1 cars are easy to drive, which is far from the case. And I think a lot of the drivers are underestimated of how good they actually, you know, are. And stepping in, I've realized everyone is on it every single lap that they do, and that's been the biggest surprise to me.
You know, how challenging? Well, because the tracks in general, because you know you didn't know Australia, you didn't know Miami, and you didn't know Canada. Yeah, but you knew the rest. Mm-hmm. When you're going to these tracks, and like, you know, some of these are like street circuits. Mm-hmm. Like how precise do you have to be with everything, like with your driving? And like, because we were talking with James Vowles last night, and you know, he actually had to explain like how young drivers, rookie drivers have to sort of build up sort of each session. And like in Saudi Arabia, like that's actually legit what it looked like you were doing. Is it the same for like every single track when you get there, it's like, hey, I got to build into this entire thing?
I think on a street track, definitely. I think coming to a track like Barcelona, coming to a track like Silverstone, we can definitely attack it a little bit earlier. Okay, the build-up still needs to be there, but it's a track that we know and we've driven for ages, and they are a little bit more forgiving than a street track. So we can definitely go for it a little bit sooner. But yeah, man, it's difficult because you're building up, but so is everyone else.
Yeah.
And you don't want to start too far behind because then you have too much to find,
right.
and it ends up not being enough time. So you still want to start in a good place. And yeah, I think what people forget is, we're all constantly building up. So you don't want to start too far under the sort of limit.
Question from Tan. Every driver has a favorite track that they tend to overperform on. So he references Lewis in Silverstone, Lando in Austria, Sergio on street circuits. Do you have a favorite track, and do you have expectations?
Me and Silverstone, baby. Nah. Honestly, I don't know. Every time I come here, it's just boom. It's just good. It hits. It's good. We got a good relationship.
Talk about that a bit, because like some people aren't going to know what that feels like. Like, I mean, going through, what is it, Chapel and then Maggots, like that's got to be like going through it.
Maggots and Beckett's is loose. It's unbelievable. It's
Yeah.
the best. It's the best corner complex that I've ever driven to this point. I'm quite curious to see what Suzuka's like, that first sector. I think that could maybe take it, but at the moment, Maggots and Beckett's is the one corner complex that I enjoy driving the most.
Is it, how's the car like feel through that? I mean, I guess we would have to use an F2 car for reference, because I don't like, you haven't been on here in the F1 car yet, right?
Not yet. I mean, we had a media day here, but it doesn't really count.
Yeah,
it's a bit different. But to be honest, I still know what to expect. I mean, if I use F2 and F3, for example, anytime you're on low fuel and the car is as light as it can be and on the limit, it's insane. And when you have good grip, because it is a relatively high grip circuit, man, you can use it. And it's pretty impressive. We're going flat through the left for the first left, flat through the right. We'll have a half lift for the third corner, which is the second left, and then just down a gear and a little brake for the last bit.
So when you go down, like you're not brake, like so you're just using the brakes once basically on that.
Once for four corners.
That right hand, that right hander or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
So until that last right, we don't touch the brake.
Dude, that's wild.
So I mean, I think people don't realize the force that goes through our body in F1. Yeah. Even coming from F2 and me knowing, I've driven loads of cars in my life, and then to step in an F1 car and go through a high-speed corner and just be like, holy shit.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what it is.
I mean, it's insane, and I don't think that's quite appreciated as much as it should be either.
Question from Laura. This is actually a really good one. Who is your greatest supporter today in the races? So I'm assuming they're meaning during the races. And they say they wish you the best always. Within
the team or within...
Let's start with team and then I guess off track.
Okay. Firstly, thank you for the last bit. I think within the team, I don't think anyone supports me more than Ben, my trainer. I mean, he's been with me for 5-6 years. Also, I mean, to be honest, I'm going to eliminate the people who are close to me. So like my parents, my managers, my trainer, because they're obviously top of the list by a mile. I'd say within the team in terms of personnel, I think my engineers definitely got my back. We obviously want the best for each other, and he wants the best for me as a driver. So I'd say within the team, my engineer and even James, I think James really wants to see me do well and wanting to help me, progress. And then outside, I mean, it's just that team around me is by far the most support I get.
Yeah, for sure. only got a few more minutes with you, so I want to talk about just the growth of F1 in America. I mean, it's been crazy. I mean, even in Canada too, it's been crazy. But like, it's in the States, it's been wild, dude. Like, what have you noticed the most? Like, outside of like people attending the races, like, what have you personally noticed the most? Because you've been following, with F3 and F2, you've been following this around like before the boom, like.
Yeah. So you mean in terms of energy from
everything? Yeah. Just what's some of the things that you've really noticed the most? I guess.
Man, it's busy. I mean, we don't get much time to ourselves. That's for sure. I think for me, select Grand Prix are special, and I've really noticed that. And I think you go to Australia, you go really to any of the ones in America, you go to Canada, you go Silverstone. To me, those Grand Prix are special because you really get a feeling of true energy, and you can feel that sort of electricity. And that honestly goes a long way in how you feel in a Grand Prix. It's really cool when it's there. And yeah, I don't know if people know that we do appreciate that a lot, because it's special and you don't get it everywhere. So when we do get it, it's nice to feel that.
And last one, I got to ask you about the Apple TV movie that's being
Bad Brad.
Bad Brad. Have you seen him? Like, have you talked to him?
No, I met him in Austin last year. He is the man, to be honest. He is so cool. He was on, I mean, I might be biased. He was one of my favorite actors beforehand. So then meeting him in Austin was like, oh, whoa, that was pretty cool. But he was really cool. He had a very California vibe. But then, yeah, to have them here, it's pretty cool. I mean, they have a proper setup, which is pretty awesome. Yeah. I think they've done a great job with the name, Sonny Hayes. Yeah. That is, so good. I mean, it goes so good. Right in line with Cole Trickle, so Ricky good. Bobby.
Yeah, I was just thinking Cole Trickle.
It's right in there. It's just as good. Sonny Hayes. It clicks. And yeah, I'm interested to see I honestly don't even know what they're exactly doing this weekend, but I'm interested to see. And it's cool to see the setup, and I'm excited to see the final sort of result of it all.
Yeah, I think it all kind of goes back to that boom of F1 in America, right? Like, I think this kind of takes it to another level. I mean, you got the Netflix thing that has kind of raised the bar, but then I think like a movie like this, if it goes well, like, I just feel it'll take F1 just to another sort of stratosphere almost.
Yeah. Yeah, it would have been cool to be in it, to be honest.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask you, like, they are just supposedly like they are filming in the paddock, I think, or something like that.
Yeah,
like,
I'll get involved. Yeah, just gonna go crash the party.
No, you run up beside Brad and you ask him for an autograph and see what happens.
Can I get in this, please?
Logan, thanks very much for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it.
No worries. Thank you very much.
Big thanks to Williams Racing and Logan Sargeant for setting that up and taking the time to sit down and chat with us. That was really great. I had a lot of fun. Yeah, it was that was definitely a fun interview to do. And yeah, I think Logan's gonna be all right. He's a pretty talented guy. There's an interesting story, developing at this British Grand Prix, and it has to do with the protesters that were at this race last year. And if you don't remember, off the start of the race, some protesters had jumped the fence and managed to get themselves onto the one of the straightaways here, and Zhou Guanyu had his accident, and that's what kind of neutralized the field before the cars actually got to where the protesters were, because it could have been a devastating incident for sure for both parties. A lot of the drivers talking about that today. A lot of drivers were asked about it today, and George Russell saying it could be very extremely dangerous, for everyone involved, and so. I think they've got about 100. They were saying they've got 100 extra marshals for the race this weekend to try and help with some of that in case something does happen. And it's something that, there, I guess there's the time, and the drivers were saying this a lot. There's a time and a place for protesting. Peaceful protesting is great, but again, time and place for it. I don't think standing on a Formula One track is during a live race is the right thing to do. You're going to get a lot of people hurt. So yeah, that's definitely one thing to keep an eye out for this weekend. Also, Mercedes revealing a new front wing for this weekend for the British Grand Prix. Yeah, I think they're going to be really strong here. I mean, obviously, Lewis is really mighty at this track. He's great in Canada too, but he's really good here as well. I think they're going to be competitive this weekend. Now, can they catch Red Bull? I doubt it. I mean, it's going to be really tough. I do think, though, the teams are starting to claw into Red Bull's advantage, but the inconsistencies from all of the teams is kind of interesting. So this leads us to some tire talk, and you can tune out now if you want, but it's actually a really important point. Are the tires. So Pirelli is going to be bringing new tires for this weekend that could be a little more durable, and these tires could maybe help a team, but it could also hinder a team. And so the tires are to do with high deg. So, you see in a lot of the teams, we use Ferrari as an example. I'm just going to use them as an example. There are other teams like Haas, there are quite a few other ones. And once they get into the race and send a ton of heat through the tire, and then the tire starts that degradation sort of process. Ferrari's really struggled with it at the beginning of the season. Ever since they brought those upgrades, they've been doing a little bit better with it. Haas, though, they still haven't quite figured that part out with the balance of the car. And with these tires that Pirelli are going to be introducing this weekend, they are kind of new, and so it'll be interesting to watch if these tires can help a certain team, or if they can hinder a certain team, or who is going to get on top of them quicker. Because these engineers are going to figure the tire out. I just think it depends on who will figure it out the fastest. I think that's what's going to be really, really crucial this weekend. I feel it could be a big talking point as well as we get into this weekend a little bit deeper. That pretty much does it for me from today. I mean, not a ton of new or insightful information, just kind of talking about all the things I've gotten to do. Hey, what are you going to do? It was a lot of fun. I've been having a great time over here. It's definitely a weekend. If you're a Formula One fan, I think you've never done the British Grand Prix, you've got to check it out. It is pretty awesome. The campsites they've got here, they line the hills. They have flags everywhere. It's just massive too. Like, we're talking massive, and it's just it's such a cool atmosphere. It's a lot. This was a good trip. I'm glad I did it. But yeah, it's been fun so far. Hope you enjoyed the podcast, everyone. Give me a follow on social media. I just joined Threads, so head on over there as well. I'm going to be posting a lot of content on Threads. Still do a little on Twitter, but I think I might start, doing a lot more over on there. That's same handle, at Tim Haraney. It's at Tim Haraney for all the social media. And thanks very much, everyone, for watching and listening. Please head on over to Spotify. Give us a 5-star rating and a follow. It helps us grow the pod. Same goes with Apple Podcasts. If you can write a review, that would be awesome. And yeah, you can also watch us on YouTube. Comments, like, subscribe, do all the things if you can. Like I said, just helps. Anyways, talk to you guys all later in the weekend. And yeah, enjoy the races.